Right. I think I'll get started. That way I can make sure that I've got enough time for Q&A right at the end. So today I'm going to be talking about testing with Nightwatch. Nightwatch is a project that I've been working with quite extensively at BrowserStack, and I want to show that some of the things that, like, how things are a lot simpler with Nightwatch, and how you can just, from having nothing to having a fully fledged test suite and all the different aspects that you can go around and start working on it. And so for those who don't know who I am, my name's David Burns. I'm automated tester on pretty much all the socials if you wanted to follow me. I head up the open source work here at BrowserStack. And it's an engineering-led open source program office in that we try fix engineering problems with projects that are near and dear to the BrowserStack company, and kind of things that we see value in for our customers. And Nightwatch is one of those major ones that I think we care about a lot. And so hopefully we'll get through some really cool things, and I get to show off one little sneak peek of something that we're hoping to release in the next day or so. Window. Right. So I'm going to kind of take you through some of the different aspects of working with Nightwatch. From getting started, there's a new recorder that we created, running tests, debugging tests, showing you that not all your tests need to be end-to-end tests. I think that's one of the major ones. And the QA should be Q and A. Sorry for the typo. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of demos today at a high level, just showing you what we're doing, how we're doing it. And as I'm going through, as I said, just ask questions, use the Q&A section. And if you want to ask something that's not necessarily related to today's talk, you can also throw that in, right? I'm happy to help anyone and everyone as we go through this. So with that, let's get started. So one of the major things that when I got started working with the Nightwatch project and working with Andre, was like, one of the things we wanted to make sure is just like, how easy could people get started with their project. And so obviously npm is really good. It allows you to just go npm install Nightwatch, gets you into a place, but it doesn't always necessarily give you all the relevant scaffolding that might be started that you need. And one of the key pillars of what Nightwatch is now trying to work towards is simplicity where possible. And so one of the things we want to make sure is that, like, if you want to do something, how can you get started fairly quickly? And so with a simple command like this, it asks you a bunch of questions. And for the, like, as I said, I'm going to go through a number of demos, but I'm going to show you how it takes you through, and it answers some of the questions as we do it. So there's going to be a bit of flipping and flopping. I should have done that earlier. Earlier I created just a directory called Nightwatch Webinar. It's empty. It's got nothing in it. If you can't see my screen, or if you'd like me to just increase the font, do tell me. Okay. And so hopefully you can still see the kind of my slide at the bottom. So I'm just going to type that out and to walk you through what Nightwatch can now do to get you started. Yes, I definitely can increase the font size. So when you run your npm init, what it does is it gets started, and it looks for kind of some of the things that you need to do. So in this case, it's created a basic package.json file because it's never, the directory is empty. And it got that set up for you. Now it's going to ask you about like simple questions of like, do you want to run JavaScript and TypeScript? If you want to use Cucumber.js, that was a new thing that came out in Nightwatch 2, and allows you to set this all up really quickly. So in this case, I'm going to just use the Nightwatch test runner. I find it's the best one for my needs generally. Do I want to run it on my local machine, or do I want to run it remotely? In this case, I'm just going to go with local, but I'll show you the directory that it gives you at the end. And so give you an example of how you could go in and change it. I worked in Mozilla, so I always tend to pick Firefox as my default browser, but we could go and we can move down and select other browsers. But in this case, just for simplicity, I'm just going to keep it at Firefox, but you could just press select to select Chrome, or another spacebar to deselect it, and you can get that running. Where I plan to keep my tests, generally in the test directory. I find it easier that way. And if I had a base URL for a project, so if you Nightwatch already has that ability of being able to pull out the base URL. This allows us to kind of simplify where it's going to be testing against regularly. So in this case, we'll just say localhost. And now it's going to go and just make sure that everything that we need is set up. So it will install the drivers, so like Chrome driver, Gecko driver, and make sure they're all in the right place. It also gives you a bit of help towards knowing what to do next. So obviously, if you ever need to come speak to the Nightwatch team, we've got you covered on Discord. It's a wonderful, thriving community. People are really nice, and the Nightwatch team sit there as well. So that if you have any questions, you can have direct access to them and ask them questions. Or if you have issues, you can just come and speak to us on GitHub. The other thing that's in here is that the init gives you some template tests. So if you've not had a project started, it gives you a login test and a title assertion test. These are little small tests to get you going, but at least gives you an example of how you should be building out your tests and moving them forward. And then it even tells you how to run your tests later. And so if you want to run a single test, you can do that. I'm not going to do that now because I'm going to be running loads of tests later, but it should show you everything that you need. One of the things I am going to do is just give you an example. I do trust this one. Is that here are the template tests, and there's a lot of text in there that you can go and delete, but it at least gives you all the details that kind of would be a good use for a basic login test, and the same for a title test. So that's pretty cool. And so, yeah, this is one of my favorite features of just checking, of getting people started. Getting started with Selenium is sometimes really hard, but in this case, Nightwatch has made it infinitely easier. Right, so back to the slideshow. We've done that. Now we're ready to run some tests. As I mentioned earlier, we've got those template tests, but one of the things that I learned kind of through my days at Selenium is that sometimes it's good to have a recorder. I don't necessarily agree with recorders in general. Like I think they're useful, but the recorder is really useful to get you started, get those initial tests up and running that you need, and then you can go and just create what you need. And so in this case, like I've already got it started. Yes, Chrome, sorry. So here is the Chrome recorder. It's installed. And I can go to somewhere like, so this is a kind of a demo site that we kind of use for the BrowserStack University courses. So that's a place where you can go get free automated testing training from BrowserStack. And this is the demo site that it works off. And if I wanted to just start up something, I could just go get the inspector, go from here, go to the recorder, and then create a brand new recording. And so in this case, pick an iPhone. In this case, I can go like this. I've loaded the page. I have clicked add to cart, click checkout. I can log in and then do the necessary, but I'm going to stop it there just for a second. And so we've got that. And then once you're ready, and this is where I've got to try to remember the right way to do it. No, here we are. And so again, I'm probably going to have to just increase the font's not going to work on that case. So at the bottom here, it will say export this as a Nightwatch test script. So if I export it, I'm just going to put it, I'll put it here for now, and I'll just copy it across. I'll show you what that test looks like. So we have that. Let me just load up Visual Studio again. I'm just going to copy that test. So copy that across. That needs to go into the specs directory. Yeah, I will definitely increase the size. Sorry, folks. Let's do that. And let's just make the whole thing bigger. I don't need that anymore. And so here is our new test that we've created. And so this takes everything that we wanted from the website. So in this case, from Chrome, it's gone through to all the different steps. It navigates, clicks on an item. Then we said click on another item. Now, one of the things you can do when you're in here is that if you need to add a step before or step after, you can do that. And you can say it, like if you needed to wait for something, so you could go here, step after, wait for an element, and then you could export that. And you can change whatever you need to. And then once you've exported it, again, it would come back here and you would be able to start running this test straight away. And so it's not always going to give you maintainable tests. It's very hard for a recorder to do that in general, but it's an easy way to get your first test started. And so you can build up a bunch of tests, and then you can start tweaking them and then refactor them at a later stage when you go, oh, I need to do this all the time. Let's put that in a different method. If you wanted a before and after, and however you needed to manage the browser. And then when you run something like this, it just picks up your Nightwatch configuration, which has all the information about how to run things anyway. And it's simple, easy to use. And so I highly recommend trying out the recorder and just having a play with it so that you can see how it can benefit you. With that, I'm just going to have a quick drink and then we'll carry on through the talk. So I just spotted that there's a couple of questions about Shadow DOM iframes. Those should hopefully be picked up with everything. Because of the way, because what the Nightwatch for Chrome recorder is doing is using the user experience recorder that is built into Google Chrome at the moment. And so if Google Chrome can see into those things, it should be able to navigate through them for you. And then what the recorder does is it gives us a JSON, a huge JSON blob, and the record and what we've built into the recorder. And there's also another tool on npm that if you've exported a whole bunch, you could just run a CLI tool and it will convert those into Nightwatch tests for you. If it doesn't, we'd love to hear from you. We already have found a couple issues in the recorder built into Chrome, and we've been working directly with the Chrome team. And so we'll gladly try fix all those issues for you and work to make them better. So this came out not that long ago. So it might not be perfect, but it's definitely a huge improvement in getting people started. So hopefully that answers your question. Cool. So the other way, so like with those tests earlier, we have a mechanism that allows us to run the tests, right? So we've seen that with the recorder, like in the recorder in Google Chrome, I can just press replay. It will go through those steps. It's probably going to fail. So sorry, I'm just going to remove that step. Oh, it worked in this case. But once you've got your tests into a format that is really useful, you can just run those tests directly in a command line. This is generally how a lot of testing frameworks have it, and it's easy to see the results. So in this case, got this one. Let me close that one. And I'm going to just pick one of our basic tests. So this, I'm going to do a cozier. So we just have a bunch of tests. So let me close that so you can see better. And in this one, we're going to just Nightwatch tests specs. Oh, have I gone to the wrong one? Let's go back. Oh, that's what I want, and it goes here. Simple to run a single test. If you don't want a single test, just give it a path to a directory. Really, really awesome way of just running tests. And when you run, you can get, so in this case, it's obviously put on my spare screen. You can see where everything is. one of the things that we did in Nightwatch 2, I think it was in 2, I might be wrong, is created a new reporter. Wow, it's not reporter. Yeah, a new reporter. And so if I load that up, you can see the same like the results of the test. If you ran loads of tests, there would be a lot of information on the screen. And one of the things that it does do is that it tries to keep all the results for a while, because instead of overwriting it, so if you had one failure, the next time it ran, you could then compare 2 files. This was at a request from a number of people in the community, but it allows you to get your results in an HTML format if you needed to kind of hand it to your manager or to anyone else. So it's really, really good there. It also gives a lot of information if there are failures. So yeah. So that's pretty cool. And one of the other ways that we can do this now is, and this is something that we're just testing internally at the moment, is that I could have things there. But if you're a Visual Studio, VS Code user, we've created a new extension for VS Code that allows you to be able to run the same tests really easily. So you can use the tree view, or you could find the big play button on the left here. And so I could go here and I could press it and I can run the tests. Again, let's put it on this wrong screen. It's over there, so you did see it. And we can see the results straight away, which is really, really awesome. And it's a really cool feature. We hope to have this released very shortly to everyone to be able to start using. And so you can get the same results, and it does all the same outputs as before, like if you're running it in parallel. And you can even update your where is it? Nightwatch config to add. Sorry. I've got to remember how, I always forget how to do this. Hate it when my computer does that. So if you use the test workers feature, it's probably, if you've ever, if you're like me, the demo gods are never very good to use. So that's why I've started doing it, and then I've test workers. There's a feature called test workers, and I could just go like that. And I can now run a whole bunch of, I could run these tests in parallel now. Oh, this is where I hope. Oh. Oh, I didn't do it this time. Let's see. Let's save it. Anyway, so I've probably done something wrong. I did have this working earlier. Oh, there we are. Now it's working. And so you can run tests in parallel. sorry for the output. The output's a bit haywire because of kind of just increasing the font sizes of everything. And there is a fix for a number for this coming out soon, but at least you can see tests and fails. Kind of, I snuck in a failing test earlier, so you can see if a test is passing or failing really quickly. So I'm really proud of the team for kind of getting that. And as I say, we'll hopefully have that out shortly. So let's go back to the slideshow. So here's an example, as I said, like of test running. One of the things that if you have feedback for us, you can come let us know is if you run individual tests, it will keep the results. So if you're wondering why it says one test passed and there's a bit more than one test, it's so that you can kind of see how things were going in the past. But it's as I say, this is a new feature, it's coming out, and we'd love to hear how you can all use it. Cool. Right. Moving on to being able to debug your tests. This is one of the kind of major issues generally when tests start failing, is people look at the error message and just go, oh, wow, I have no idea what that even means. So recently there's been some changes to Nightwatch that gave you what I kind of call actionable error messages. Excuse me. These error messages will kind of try help you through and find the line that's failing. And so it's a case of like, it'll tell you an error message and go, here's this thing that failed and the line, and it gives you a nice message. If you're looking for an element and it can't find an element, so in this case, it was asserting that the element was there, so it says it wasn't. But if you were like, find this element and then click on it, and if it didn't find that element, the error message will then send you a message that says, oh, by the way, this is how I think you need to go fix it. Let's see if we can recreate that situation. So I'm just going to remove that. We'll close that. And let's go to our test. And so this case, we're going to go and let's just run that test again. Oh. Oh, as I say, sometimes the extension is playing up, so but we'll run the exact same file manually. So generally the error messages are a little bit better. In this case, I see a case where you let's try that. Do it again. Oh, sorry, it's on the wrong page. So there's the thing that's we're doing. And so here's what I was trying to show, is that like if an element is not found, for example, we try to explain this, and we try to give you a meaningful way, because what we found is people really struggle sometimes when you look. It says can't find an element, but it's hidden in a huge stack trace. And so the changes here that we've added recently allow you to kind of be able to understand the problem and then go and fix it. It's one of those ones that I think it's really useful. It comes from, like, I just wanted to emulate some of the work that Rust is doing when people get stuck. And this is a case of like being able to just get a meaningful error message that helps the end user figure out what they have done or haven't done. Right. And so this is one of the newest features that's gone in, and I really like it. There's also kind of the new browser.debug and browser.pause. And so in this, well, it doesn't need to necessarily be on browser. Well, it does, but like I could go in here, I could add a .debug method. And if I run this test, I've got my test, or my page, it's up, it's under control. But I can now control the browser using Nightwatch commands directly here. And so I can go browser.navigate in this case. And so it's the same browser. I haven't touched anything there, and I've made it change. And I'd be able to kind of find the things that I want, and be able to try break down what that issue is. So earlier when I showed you that, it like said this thing, it wasn't there, that element wasn't there, I could kind of go back here, inspect the elements, and go, oh, it's a search box input. And I can go, in this case, search box input. Oh, okay, just go browser dot send please. And so it tries to help you with autocomplete. Oh, did I pick the wrong element? Oh, I couldn't find the element. And so the point is that you can still see roughly what's happening. Again, the demo goes clearly not on my side, but it allows you to debug the tests, and then we can just exit. The test should hopefully just clean up. There we are. And we can have that problem. The other way with the Visual Studio extension is that you can set a breakpoint in VS Code. Let's see. Yeah, no. Here we are. And so you can kind of now step through. You've got all the same debugging tools that you already had in VS Code, and you'd be able to kind of step through codes, see them fail, and then kind of, oh, I see. My problem is I put 2 debugs. Typical. Right, if we go back here. Oh no. So we have that one. Oh, there. And oh, typical. I've done it again. But I've messed up because I had that thing. But yeah, so you can still see the failures. It still steps into it. And you'll be able to break down your test, drive the DevTools and be able to control everything you need to. And so this is and so there's a new it's not new. It was kind of there before, but it's been improved. There's the debug. There's also the pause. And so if you need to just pause it indefinitely while you kind of look at something, and then you can just get it going again, you can use the browser dot pause. So dot pause. So you can either put in a time or indefinitely. And then if you needed to break out, you'd be able to break out later. And so this came in recently. So it's a really good feature. Really proud of the work that the team did there. Brilliant. So we have that. I mentioned about the debug. So there's the debug test feature that is built into VS Code extension that we will hopefully just iron out one or two of these last little bugs. And then the kind of the last major area that I wanted to bring up was the team has been working on component testing. So if you working with certain front-end frameworks, components are kind of those small building blocks that allow you to be able to create your tests or create your front end in kind of modular pieces and then stick them together, and then that generates your front end. At the beginning of the year, we released component testing support. This has been copied by a number of the other testing frameworks out there, but it allows you to be able to kind of manage your components. At the moment, there's only support for Vue.js and React, with more and more things coming down very, very soon. So I'll talk you through some of this. So here is a really good example of a component test. And so what it does is it will allow you to kind of set your base URL. It will mount that component. So with Vue, we use Vite, and I think we use Vite again for React. And then you can create a smaller test, be able to do what you need to, and then finish. The idea about creating these much smaller tests is that instead of having these long-winded manual tests, or not manual tests, end-to-end tests that kind of walk you through the process of everything, and you have to do it, and then they suddenly become flaky because of the length of time they take to run, because the longer a test takes to run, the higher the likelihood that it'll become flaky for multiple reasons. And so being able to create these small modular tests for front-end frameworks allows you to kind of have better confidence in the code that you are shipping. And so this works with Vue and React, and as I say, other front-end component frameworks we're going to be adding soon. Do let us know if you message me on Twitter or come join the Discord. Message me directly and just say I really need this feature. This would be really awesome, and then hopefully we can see about getting it into a future release. And so if you want to see a much deeper dive into component testing, I've got a talk coming out. I think it's at the end of the month, part of the Test Tribe talk series. I think it's called Test Flicks. where I specifically only do a talk on component testing. And so feel free to deep dive into that, have a look at it. And if you have any other questions, feel free to come like message me on like Twitter or on Discord, please do. Cool. Right. So what's coming next for the Nightwatch project? As I've shown, we've got the VS Code extension. I think the demo gods were against me because it was working perfectly today, but we'll have a look and see what I've done differently. We'll be adding that and then making improvements as we go to it. I think there's a lot of work that we can get into there. There's improved plugin support that we want to do. We're trying to see if we can find some of the best plugins from the community and make sure that we ship those to people that we see value in. And if you want to kind of, if you have a plugin that you've created, but you don't necessarily always have the time to maintain it, there is a program for kind of migrating that repository over to the Nightwatch JS community GitHub organization. And that way, the Nightwatch project can maintain it. You still have full ownership of it, and we can just kind of collaborate that way because it's easier. We have better visibility that way instead of going to find all these different projects from around the community and keep essentially a spreadsheet. Having it in one place just makes it a little bit easier. We're going to be working on improving component testing. We've got some really good ideas coming up. Andre's been working on some of them. I'm really excited by the work that I hear from the team and what they're doing. So that's really, really awesome. We're going to be improving mobile support. You can already use Nightwatch against mobile devices for testing your websites, but sometimes it can feel a little bit clunky. We're kind of, as I said at the beginning, we want to try and improve all of the ergonomics and simplicity of using Nightwatch and getting people to test that. I know, like a browser stack, one of the biggest things that we've seen through COVID is the amount of people moving their kind of way of life over to their mobile phones and doing everything on their mobile phones. So mobile web, mobile apps are really important. So we're going to see how we can improve that and make things much, much better for everyone. And there's going to be much, much more, right? Like this is only a small snippet of what we're got in the pipeline. We hope to have a lot more. And you as the community, if you have any questions, suggestions, things like that, as I said, you feel free to come join us on Discord or kind of just message me, message the Nightwatch Twitter account if you prefer those, and we can try get you sorted sooner. And with that, I'm going to move on to the Q&A section. If you have any questions, I know some people have been asking questions, so please ask questions in the Q&A section. I will try get through as many as I can. And I also noticed some people have asked in the chat, so I'm going to try kind of just go through it all. So I'll give you a minute to do that while I have a drink, and then we can get started on it. Cool. Right. Cool. Right. Okay. So I'm going to start with the questions. This one's from Alan. Um, what would be the best way to record or hire information from Nightwatch session without using browser mod proxy? That's a very good question. I think so. The main problem with that is trying to get meaningful network data out. And so some of the new features that we have been working towards is supporting kind of the WebDriver BiDi work that's going on in Selenium and CDP. So some of it's like starting in CDP and they'll be migrated across. And I think there might be ways to do that, but I'm not sure exactly how we would go about doing that. I think that's a really good question to kind of come ask us in the Discord, so we can kind of deep dive and share out bits of information on that. So yeah. How should we pass global settings to custom test runners? That's a very good question. I think so. One of the things that I know some people have, there was an issue the other day, Alan, that was around sharing this information. And I know the team picked it up to be able to fix that. And I think this is a very good one for Discord, but there was an issue about trying to get some of these global settings into custom test sections of the code. And so I don't know if it's somewhat related, but that if it like ideally global settings should always be in the config or in a process environment, and we should be picking them up where necessary. And if we're not doing that, I think just come speak to us in Discord, and then if we need to raise an issue, we'll get it raised and then try to get it fixed as soon as possible. Cool. Awesome. Cool. Can we run individual tests at a tag level? I was under the impression that should be already working. If that's not working, Suraj, again, like, do come speak to us in the Discord or kind of raise an issue. But I was under the impression that we should be able to get that working straight away. So if not, because like one of the key things that we're doing for the if I do the Visual Studio Code is that like we should be able to filter by those tags here even. And so I think that should already be there. Cool. Right. Sorry, I'm just cleaning up. Oh no. Okay. Would it be able to run Nightwatch.js or Cucumber.js automated tests on the cloud like Browser Stack? Yes. So in the configuration, where is it? You would have like an environment detail here, like Firefox, and you could do it. And so like if I reran can't type now. I could say on a remote machine, so browser stack, and say I wanted on Firefox there. Yes, I'm going to just overwrite it. Then you can just like put environment variables support everything, and you should be able to run your tests against browser stack really easily. So hopefully that that answers your question. For someone totally new to Nightwatch, why not Cypress? Why not WebDriver IO? So the why not Cypress is really easy in that my belief is that generally people should be testing where their customers are. And so the way Cypress works is that you can never, like, if I was evaluating a test framework, Cypress would never pass because it can't do simple logins. Because if I start at, say, http mysite.com, and it needs to automatically move me to https.mysite.com. Well, you know what I mean. Cypress can't do that because it's bound by the JavaScript sandbox, and so it's limited to what it can do. And so Nightwatch has taken the stance that, like, be where the customer is, and so it's works with real mobile devices, emulators. It uses real browsers. So kind of like Playwright, for example, doesn't use real browsers. It uses browsers it ships with patches to the browser that it's made. And so like it uses Chromium. And if you know, like if you've ever used Brave, you know Brave acts very differently to the way Google Chrome does, which acts very differently to the way Edge does. Nightwatch can work with all of those browsers really easily. Cypress launched WebKit support yesterday. I think it was yesterday. But WebKit is not Safari. It's very close, but it's not. And so not every feature that goes into WebKit makes its way into Safari. And so you can't do that. And then again, you can't use real mobile devices. The way they cheat is they kind of just resize the browser and go, yeah, this is close to mobile. Having worked on Firefox for Android, I can tell you that's not true. It's very different, and so you're limiting what you can do. So my belief is always be where your customer is. So hopefully that answers your question, Sebastian. Do you have any idea when there will be further improvements to the TypeScript support? Async await is not really shown in the current. That should be either just about to land or it landed yesterday and we might need to merge it from definitely typed. Yeah, it should be there. If not, it'll be there very shortly. The team are doing amazing work there to try and improve it. TypeScript is a very important thing for us that we want to make sure it's best, like kind of best there. And so there's been a bit of refactoring, a bit of work. So I know there's been a huge change recently. So hopefully if it's not there now, it'll be there like in a day or two. And if it's not doing exactly what you want, feel free to raise an issue on the GitHub for us, and then we can have a look. Hopefully that answers your question, Lubomir. Hopefully I've pronounced that right. So apologies. Cool. What about flaky tests compared to Selenium? Nightwatch, I think, solves one of the major issues that Selenium has. It's not a major issue in that, like, Selenium is a browser automation framework, right? It gives you the tools for driving the browser. It doesn't necessarily, it tries to keep its opinions about things to a minimum where possible. And so the flakiness that Selenium has is that it's around waiting for elements, or kind of you try to interact with an element and your front-end frameworks remove that element and replace it with something else, right? And you get these error messages. Nightwatch kind of has some heuristics in there about either giving you automatic waits for it and retrying, or it it'll just retry until it can get to the browser. So you should kind of have a little bit less flakiness compared to pure Selenium, in that it's already redoing all those tries for you. But Nightwatch is using Selenium, and so like the flakiness is not necessarily down to Selenium. Like the asynchronicity in browsers is sometimes really hard to automate, and I think that's where a lot of people struggle with. But as I say, Nightwatch has got some really good heuristics that kind of goes, yes, this is the right time to now interact with that element. Which is why earlier when I said click on this element, it waited a little while before it errored and said it couldn't find it, because it tried to find it. So you should get a lot less flake than using pure Selenium. Right. I've got one more question that I can do. Is it able to test network request responses? I'm not, so in theory, yes, you should be able to do that. I'm not sure that kind of doing this directly in a browser is always the best way of doing that type of test. It's one of those, it's a hard general question. It was one of my major questions when I was being interviewed at numerous places before. It was like, how do you test video or media? And you need to be able to kind of pull out a frame and test against that frame, is the answer. And so I hope, like, it's about kind of getting, it should be able to do it, but I'm not necessarily sure doing it inside a browser is the best way of doing it sometimes. So hopefully that answers. Can you mock API calls, which is kind of similar? Yes, you can. Nightwatch does support that. At the moment, the support is mostly in like Chromium-based browsers, but there is work from the Firefox folks to add in support for us, and hopefully that'll be coming soon. And you'll be able to do that. So yes, you can do that. And it's using real browsers. So like, you know, if you want to test an Edge and Google Chrome and Brave, as like, you can kind of test all those and do all the different mocks, so you can get a good spread of people. So hopefully that's it. And with that, I'm 1 minute over. Thank you all for coming today. I really appreciate you all joining and giving me some of your time today. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all your questions or to all your comments. I'm really sorry about that, but feel free to join our Discord or kind of follow me. If you're not already following me on Twitter, I'll tweet out details on how to join the Discord, or if you just do npm init Nightwatch, once you finish that, it tells you how to join Discord directly from your terminal. So kind of that might be a good way for you to have a play with it and get started with Nightwatch. But you're more than welcome to join and have a chat with us. There will be a recording of this talk, and we will be sharing it as soon as possible. I'm not sure exactly when that'll be. And so if you've registered for this webinar, you will get you'll get details of when it is shared shortly. Brilliant. Thank you all, and have a fantastic rest of your day, and keep safe to you all. Thanks, everyone.